Hello, Dysphagia Facebook community, and anyone who's joining us from Instagram. We are so happy to see you tonight. Cat Ludwig, dietitian.
And I'm Stephanie Pepper, speech pathologist.
We are so excited. Well, I know I'm super excited to talk
good to be
about
back.
fat. It is good. I'm so sorry I missed you all last week. Had some family stuff going on, so thank you for being gracious enough to allow me to spend that time with my family. It was really wonderful that I got to do that. So we're going to jump right in because I have a lot of words to say tonight, and I'm really trying to figure out how to condense it into a really easy to understand. And we're going to make some coconut curry potato soup, which I'm really excited about. Everything, I just have ingredients out and it smells so good.
It does smell good.
I want to get started with what are fats? Well, fats are a compound that don't like water. So they're not soluble in water. So anytime you mix like oil and vinegar, they don't mix, right? So we call that hydrophobic, which is kind of fun. It's afraid of water. So the type of fat that it is going to determine whether it's solid or liquid at room temperature. So for example, we have some butter right here. This is room temperature, solid, not going anywhere, right? Coconut milk, high in fat. Also, the certain kind of fat it is, which is a long chain fat, solid. Whereas we have canola oil that is liquid at room temperature. So we're gonna get started with our soup here. Steph's gonna make sure I have the correct burner.
That's the right one.
Perfect. Stephanie's going to start us off with some onions, garlic, and ginger. I just put the garlic and ginger in the blend jet and just blitzed it so it's super small. I did not put oil in there yet. Okay, so I have some examples here to show you as well because this makes it slightly easier to understand. So a fat is basically a chain of carbon, and so each of these in the middle represents the carbon. Anything that's 4 to 6 chains is a short chain fat. These are going to be more liquid at room temperature, and the longer they get, so let's say this is 1, if it were connected like this is going to be solid at room temperature. So this also affects how easily your gut absorbs it. This smaller, easier to break down, it's going to be much easier to absorb. Whereas this one, and I added the blue one here because this would technically be twice this long. So this represents a whole nother side here. This one is incredibly long and much more difficult to break down and absorb. So what's the point? Well, some of these fats are good and some of them are bad. You need fat though because your brain is made up of 60% fat. She's a brain specialist, right? So,
I don't know.
Well, brain injury specialist.
Yes.
She specifically treats brain injuries. So my goal is to keep enough fat in your brain healthy so that you don't have to talk to Stephanie about a brain injury from a nutritional standpoint. Okay, so let's talk first a little bit about saturated fat because people have said for years saturated fat is not good for you. So what a saturated fat would look like would be this right here, where there are 4 places that this can attach, and I think I have too many on here, but that's okay. This blue one has too many, which is interesting, but that's okay. So each of these has a place and they're full. You can't attach anything else. Whereas this right here has 2 bonds to one other molecule. So technically if you were to take this off and put another one on, then that one would be saturated. So basically that's all it means when they're talking about saturated fat. And hello person we have on, please ask questions and let us know that you're here. We're happy to have you. So saturated fat comes from animal products and dairy products typically. and they are harder on your heart health. So we want you to reduce the amount of saturated fat that you eat in a day to 10% or less of your total intake. Okay, so saturated fat, you're going to eat some because a lot of people eat meat, animal products, that sort of thing. Some is okay. But let's talk about trans fats, because trans fats are the really bad ones that the government has outlawed, more or less. So trans fats, there is a small amount that occurs naturally from sheep and cows in like your meat and our dairy, but that's not enough for it to be a big deal. The ones we really worry about are when you take a high heat process and you add hydrogen mechanically. So this is a human-made fat, which makes it bad for a reason. So what would happen is that we would go in and the humans would be able to take a chemical reaction and break this, so you would add an extra hydrogen there. And what that would look like, so this is what it's supposed to look like when you have that double bond here. It's supposed to be on the same side. We call this cis. Well, if it's a trans fat, we'd have to break it apart physically. Let's make sure I put this on here the right way. And now it looks like this. So if it were cis, it would be on the same side, but it's trans. So what happens when this happens is if this were to insert itself into your cell, now things can get in this direction, whereas if it were the other way like it was supposed to, it wouldn't. So these also increase your cholesterol and increase your risk of heart disease, which we totally want to avoid. Heart disease is bad. So if there's anything we can do food-wise, don't eat trans fats. The government, I want to say, made them illegal for companies to add to our food in like 2018. There's still a way around that. So if you're curious, send me a comment or a message on here, and I'll do a live video tomorrow, and I'll explain that a little bit. Okay, so next we want to add our turmeric, which is a yellow spice, typically used in Indian cooking, and I also have some coconut sugar in there. You can use regular sugar too. And then we're just going to fry this a little bit. Turmeric is a fat-soluble spice. It's got these phytonutrients, which I'm going to talk about a little bit here in a bit. Your body can't absorb the benefits of turmeric without being attached to a fat. If you take it as a turmeric pill just with water, your body's not hardly going to absorb any of it. So you want to make sure that if you're taking a turmeric supplement, it's better if you can get it through food, but if you're taking a supplement, you want to take it with something that has fat in it. I usually recommend a drink that's a little higher fat, like milk, or take it with your breakfast, like if you're eating eggs, something like that, so that your body can absorb it a little better. Okay, so, oh, it smells amazing. I wish we had a smello vision. Was that from Willy Wonka?
Yes.
Oh, so coconut milk is going to go in next. And then we're also going to add our tofu. And we have some potatoes here, so this is going to be nice and hearty. Let's see. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. Oh, red curry paste. Yeah, we want about a tablespoon of that. Brought you a little spoon and everything.
I'll figure it out.
It's gonna be great no matter how much, and it's you and I. So if it's a little more, it's fine.
It's okay, huh?
Okay, so your body is a really, really fantastic chemist, which means it can make most of the fats that it needs. There are not very many that you need to eat, but the ones you need to eat are called omega-3s, and you need to eat these because your body can't make them, so they're considered essential. So omega-3s, I was going to turn this back around so that it's facing the right direction, because my ADD can't handle telling you about this if it's not quite right. Okay, so In omega-3, all it means is that there's a double bond here at the third carbon. That's all it means. And then omega-6s have a double bond at the sixth carbon, and omega-9s have a double bond at the ninth carbon. That's all it means. Not important. It is important about how your body uses them, though. So your body can make omega-9s. You do not need to eat them. You'll get everything that you need from what your body does. You do need omega-6s, and you do need omega-3s. You can't make those. So what happens if you have a deficiency of fat? Because this is not something that typically happens unless you're in a place where you can starve to death. It would be a symptom like dry, scaly skin with a rash. It would be if your kids don't have enough fats, they will not grow properly. And then your immune system won't respond well, and very, very rarely you'll end up with vision problems, neuropathy, which is pain from your nerves, and then, of course, poor growth, like I said. So there is a type of fat called eicosanoids that your body makes. Your body can't make these without the right kind of fats. So an omega-6 eicosanoid, this is important because when I talk about inflammation in food, omega-6s that are turned into eicosanoids, not important why they're called that or what makes them that, they constrict your blood vessels, which increases your blood pressure. They promote your blood to clot, which may not be a bad thing if you need your blood to clot, but they also increase your inflammation response. And so if you have too many omega-6s and your body is always increasing inflammation, you're going to feel like crap all the time. And this happens locally. Like, these don't travel around your body. So wherever they are in your body, if they're being made, you're going to have increased inflammation. It could be your joints. It could be your gut. It could be your brain. It could be anywhere. So on the other hand, you have your omega-3s, and your omega-3s and your omega-6s compete. So we want you to eat more omega-3s so that you have more of a chance of those omega-3s competing with your omega-6s for this enzyme that makes these. So the omega-3 eicosanoids, they dilate your blood vessels, which decreases your blood pressure because there's more room for your blood to flow. They discourage your blood to clot, and they reduce your inflammation. So they are like, hey, body, calm down. You don't need to do that. You just be calm and happy and not in pain. So we want omega-3s. So
how much tofu? The whole thing?
All of it. Yep.
Gotcha.
And this is only half a recipe.
Okay.
The full recipe would have been way too much, I think.
And if anyone wants this recipe, we'll let you know how good it is.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's going to be super delicious.
It smells delicious.
Okay, so omega-3 sources, we would call these EPA and DHA, which are found in baby formula because they realized that they needed to add these to baby formula so that babies could grow and develop healthily. So they are found in fatty fish like salmon, tuna, and mackerel. We really encourage people to take a fish oil supplement. That's what I forgot. I was going to bring my fish oil supplement that I take because it doesn't taste like fish. I'll see if I can find a picture of it. But if you're going to take these supplements, if you are pregnant, nursing, or if you're giving them to a child, you need to be under medical supervision before you do this. You need to talk to your doctor about this. It's really, really important. So the vegetarian versions of omega-3s are found in flax seeds, soybean oil, canola oil, walnuts, and chia seeds. Not too many foods out here, and I feel like a lot of people don't eat a lot of these foods. So a lot of people are missing, yes, broth.
Got it. You talk.
I'll talk. You pour. Thank you. So a lot of people are missing a lot of these things in their diet, and so they may have this increased inflammation just because they don't have enough omega-3s to tell them, hey, body, calm down. You don't need to be going through this inflammatory process right now. So omega-6s are found in seeds, nuts, and vegetables like corn, and then also in meat, poultry, and eggs, which I had forgotten that part because it's been a while since I looked at that. This is always a good refresher for me too, to make sure I know what I'm... Oh yeah, that's beautiful and bright yellow.
It is, and it just splashed on my finger, and I might have tasted that, and it's really good.
It's really good?
Yes.
That's what I like to hear. Okay, so we went over the sources. So the only thing I didn't talk about, I think, was types of fat. So triglycerides. All a triglyceride is it means that there's a glycerol molecule, which is like anytime you see glycerin, that's what it is. And these are all attached, sort of like this. So a triglyceride has 3 of these together. And then your body breaks them apart when you eat them. So triglycerides are the major fat in your diet and in your body. They're really important because they add flavor and they add really good texture or mouthfeel to your food. They're a really important source of energy because if you have enough fat in your body's not trying to break down your protein to use that for energy. We want our protein to stay where it's at and keep our muscles healthy. We need those structures stable so that they're not breaking down. If they're breaking down, we have a lot more problems to address. So fat is the fuel that your muscles want to use when you're not exercising or working. So when you're at rest, your body is using fat to fuel your muscles. Energy storage, so like your fat stores, your body pulls from those fat stores when you're in a calorie deficiency or when you haven't eaten for a long time. So there's this thing called intermittent fasting. Basically, that's what's happening, is your body is starting to pull from those fat stores. And then insulation and protection. 15 to 30% of your body weight is from fat. And this is designed on purpose by nature to protect you. So the visceral fat is what's around your organs, like your kidneys. As women, it's around our uterus and our ovaries. It's around our heart. And then there's subcutaneous, which means it's under our skin. This helps keep us warm, especially in the wintertime. And then, like, you've heard about someone getting punched in the kidney, right? Which is really bad. That fat is there to protect you. So fat is really, really important for a lot of reasons. We need it to protect us. And if you're like me and you're cold all the time, you need your fat to keep you as warm as you can.
That's true. Quick question for you.
Yes.
Do you want the carrots and the broccoli to cook with it so that we can puree it?
I think we should just do the carrots.
Okay.
And then leave the broccoli out.
I have
for tonight.
cooked broccoli already.
Maybe.
Some
It'll be a little softer, yeah. Because this should go pretty quickly once, we just need to wait for the potatoes to get soft and then we'll be good to go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
good. So
I'm
I'll put
for
the carrots
this.
in so they can get soft too.
Perfect. Okay, so what do symptoms of lack of fat look like? So this would be caused by an illness, involuntary starvation. So if you don't have access to food and you're not eating, this can happen. Famine, extreme dieting, and extreme exercise can also cause this to happen. So some of the symptoms would be increased pain when you're sitting down or laying down. So as people get older and they start to eat less and their fat stores start to decrease, this is why when I work in the nursing home, I'm like, no, I want my people to be a little bit fat, because the longer they're here, the less they're going to eat and they're going to start to lose weight. So we want to make sure that they have that fat on them to protect them and try to reduce some of that pain that's probably going to happen. Especially because when someone's in a wheelchair long term, it's not pleasant. So we want that extra fat on there for that cushion. Cool temperatures when you don't have enough fat become absolutely unbearable, and you may even be cold at room temperature. Women that don't have enough fat, they stop having a period and they become infertile. So if they're trying to have a baby, they're not going to be able to, because you need fat in your body to support life. A child, like I said before, will stop growing, your skin will start to deteriorate, and you're going to end up with pressure sores. So anytime someone's laying down or sitting in one spot too long, they don't have enough fat there, that skin's going to start to break down, and it's going to create a wound. And then for someone with cachexia, which is where their body just starts to kind of wither away, they get really, really thin and skinny and look like a skeleton. And then anyone with anorexia, one of the symptoms they tend to have is this really fine hair that grows all over their body, and it's called lanugo. So we want that, that's typically a symptom that you don't have enough fat, and that fine hair is trying to keep you warm. Okay, so that's already a ton of information. Do I have printables for all the topics you cover? I do, not quite to this level of detail, but I have some basic ones, and I can create some more because I have all of this written down, so it's not too hard. So Shannon, I can print all those out for sure, or I can post them and where you can download them.
Nice.
Yes. So how do we digest fat? Starts in your mouth with lingual lipase, which means your tongue produces an enzyme that starts to digest fat. Your teeth are also helpful for this. So any of you that are not chewing, you need to chew. So I hope your teeth, or I have a lot of patients that don't have teeth that do just fine. Mm-hmm. So chewing, whether you have teeth or not, chewing, and then your tongue produces that lipase, it starts to break down the fat in your mouth. So that's step number one.
And that lingual lipase is carried in your saliva, and that's why salivating when you smell food is so important, because that's where your digestion begins.
You can probably hear me because I'm salivating right now because it smells so good. So I'm trying to okay. So then we have your stomach, because that food goes down your esophagus and into your stomach. Your stomach produces gastric lipase, plus your stomach churns and contracts to get everything mixed together. And if it sits in your stomach for about 2 to 4 hours, 30% of it will be broken down into smaller sections of fats, which is really, really cool. And then once it gets into your small intestine, it triggers your gallbladder to reduce bile, and it triggers your pancreas to reduce pancreatic lipase, and then those mix together, and those together can basically break down fats within a couple of minutes. So your body, like we said before, is a really great chemist, and the mouth part takes a while, the stomach part takes a while, but once it hits your intestines are just geniuses at digesting fat. If you have fat in your stool, so if you move your bowels and you see something there that's not supposed to be there, that's not normal. It's called steatorrhea. If there's 6 to 7% of the fat left in your stool, that's a problem, and you need to talk to your doctor about it. That's a sign of malabsorption. That's a problem. We want to get that addressed. So that's just a super, super important note there. So the long chains, your body breaks them down and then rebuilds them. The short chains, we don't actually get from food. These are not a thing. You only actually get long chains from food. So a short chain is what goes through your intestines into your colon, and then the bacteria in your colon digests these and helps keep your gut healthy, your large intestine healthy. So you want these short chain fatty acids to feed that good bacteria, and this can prevent things like colon cancer. So having the right foods in your diet can be very beneficial for preventing further health problems like cardiovascular disease and cancer. Okay, so benefits of fat intake. It decreases your gastric secretions. So anyone with acid reflux, if you eat the right kind of fat and the right amount of fat, it can decrease the amount of acid that you're producing, which in the long run decreases the amount of acid that your stomach produces. This is really important to note that this is the right kind of fat. If it's the wrong kind of fat, this is not going to help, and it's going to make your acid reflux worse, because as we already said, fat and water don't like each other. So in your stomach, fat sits on top, and if there's too much in there, it's going to come back up, which is where we have trouble with reflux. So it slows down your gastric emptying, so you stay fuller longer, and then you eat less in the long run. So I usually tell my people, most dietitians, you're not going to hear this from, I tell my people, buy the whole fat version and eat the correct portion, because your body is going to be like, nope, I'm good. I don't need more food. And if you're listening, those hunger signals will slow down for longer, and then you don't need to eat as much because you're fuller longer. The fat stimulates your bile and your pancreas to work together in conjunction with each other, and then your gallbladder and your pancreas are healthier with the correct kind of fats. Fats help with texture, like I said before. They give it a really nice mouthfeel. If you ever try whole fat yogurt and non-fat yogurt together, I did it one time a couple of weeks ago, and I spit out the non-fat yogurt because it was just the worst feeling in my mouth. You can tell it's fake as compared to the whole milk.
Plus, when they take the fat out, they replace it with something else. So it's either sugar or something that's not as good for you.
Typically, they're chemicals or fat replacers that have a similar structure, but they still don't feel the same. They just can't feel the same because most of them are chemicals, so they're man-made, and they don't taste as good. So then they have to add typically more sugar and more salt to make them taste better.
Right.
So anytime you have low fat, they've always added other junk in that not helpful. Just eat the full fat version.
Right. Just eat less of it if you're concerned about the fats.
There you go.
So one of the other things that I wanted to add to that is that we have found that when we're pureeing things, adding a little extra fat, a good fat, helps it to be smoother.
Yeah.
So if you need super smooth, we're telling you need fat too. So add a little bit of fat to that, whether it's butter. We've added butter to a hamburger before when we were pureeing it.
Super helpful.
And it made it very smooth.
Silky almost.
Almost silky,
Yeah. It's super helpful for that mouthfeel. Fat, we also recommend cooking your meat in a little bit of good fat, not at a super high heat, but cooking it with fat, because when you blend it, when it's been cooked in the fat, it also blends so much smoother, and you have a better texture and less gritty dryness for the mouthfeel at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, totally good point.
Yep.
Yes. So omega-3s, they help reduce your risk of heart disease, arthritis, and other inflammatory conditions, and they also reduce neurologic conditions because your fat helps coat those nerves as well.
There is a lot of research about omega-3s and cognition.
100% yes. So optimal, we want you to eat a certain amount of omega-3s to omega-6s. 100 years ago, and I've said this quite a few times in the last couple of weeks. I don't know that I've said it on a video yet. 100 years ago, we used to eat 2 parts omega-6s or 3 parts omega-6s to 1 part omega-3s. And this is because, like we said, they fight for the enzyme to create these eicosanoids. Now, our diets, we eat 10 to 15 parts omega-6s to 1 part omega-3s, which is a significant difference, and that completely increases our inflammatory response. I'm curious about how my avocado picking did. I might have gotten a little bit of a hard one.
It's hard, but it's okay because we're...
So there's a reason that in our society today, we have so many more inflammatory conditions because we don't eat the same way we did 100 years ago. So that's an important point. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to cover here. Oh yes, there is. Sterols. which are not technically a fat, but they're these multi-ring structures that sort of look like a honeycomb. If you were to look at what a honeycomb looks like, it looks similar to that. Cholesterol is made out of sterols. I did a bad job picking my avocado. I should have gotten a super soft one. Just don't cut yourself.
Well, I didn't want people online getting nervous.
Yeah. So cholesterol is a major part of your cells, and especially in your nervous system and your brain tissue. So having the correct amount of cholesterol in your body is really, really important for that brain function. Cholesterol or sterols also are what start out your vitamin D. So once you have the precursor to vitamin D and you get in the sun, that sunlight hitting your skin can make that vitamin D and increase your level. I tell everyone to supplement with vitamin D3 because it's just, we don't get enough sun where we're at in this latitude. Your hormones are made out of sterols. So all of your hormone function in your body, in order for your hormones to be balanced, you need to have enough cholesterol. So these include estrogen, androgens for men, which would be testosterone, progesterone, which women need if they're pregnant, glucocorticoids with this cortisol. You need enough cortisol in your body so that can process properly. Too much is not a good thing, but you still need it. And then mineralocorticoids, that's a big word. And these help with blood pressure control. And then also they help you produce bile for digesting fats. So cholesterol is so important. And there was a time when we used to give our chocolate pudding avocado may not work out very well because I got a super hard avocado. You're doing a great job of trying to make it work.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Chef Cat.
All right. So I think I got through all my notes.
Wow.
I feel like
all
I talked.
Those notes?
I talked really fast.
You said all that?
I had 4 pages of notes. Oh, there's one last piece. So uses. Fat produces 9 calories per gram, whereas carbohydrates and protein only produce 4 calories per gram. So fats are worth more than double what protein and carbs are worth. So when you have them in your body, in order to break them down, it takes exponentially more energy to break down fats, which is why when you burn fat, you get more energy and you burn more calories because breaking down fats is really hard. So like I said, this guy right here, this blue represents this whole other side here. So in order to break down this really long chain, that takes a lot of energy, and your body typically cuts them off 2 at a time. So it takes a lot of energy to break down a fat molecule. Fats are used for energy storage in our adipose tissue. So everyone keeps talking about, I'm fat. Well, your body is supposed to have this adipose tissue so that if anything happens, it can use it and give you energy and prevent you from dying. Insulation, it's a carrier of fat-soluble compounds. So I mentioned the turmeric being a fat-soluble phytonutrient. There are other ones like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K that need fat in order to be absorbed into your body. This is one of the reasons that a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D is because you have to supplement it, and a lot of them don't take the supplement with something that can help them absorb into their body. And then when we process foods, so like when we process wheat, we take off the germ on the outside. That germ contains vitamin E, and we don't replace it. It's not one of those things that we add back in. So a lot of people don't have enough vitamin E, which is also protective of your heart health when it's eaten naturally. It's more efficient for your body. And then flavor and texture. I can't even begin to explain how important this is. So when fats get hot, they're released into the air, and you get this amazing smell that makes you salivate. And then it makes you hungry. And then you have an appetite. So one of the things with COVID is that it messed with people's ability to taste and smell. One of the nurses in one of the facilities I covered this week told me that she hasn't been able to smell or taste anything for like 2 years. And my heart breaks because my sense of smell is my most powerful sense. It kind of drives me crazy how strong it is sometimes, but
well, it's a protective device too. Like you know when your milk is sour because you smell it first.
Yes. When I worked in restaurants years ago, I used to be able to tell something was going bad 2 days before anyone else could. And they didn't believe me, and then the next day they'd be like, oh. And then the next day they'd be like, oh my gosh, this is horrid. I'm like, well, I told you 2 days ago it was going bad. You should have believed me. So fats are really, really, really important. And you need enough of them. And I can post about how much of each you need, each protein and carbs and fat you need in combination. We call those macros. I can post something about that. But I want to encourage you to eat enough and the right kinds of fat especially. And if you don't get any omega-3s in your diet, then you need to supplement them because your brain function will thank you. Your joints will thank you. If you have any autoimmune stuff going on, your body will thank you. It's going to be so happy when you get those omega-3s in your body. So if you need a recommendation for a good omega-3 supplement, I'm going to tell you which one I take. It's from Barlean's, and it does not taste like fish oil. They make a liquid, and I can take it right off the spoon, and it tastes like fruit, and it doesn't taste like fish, which is super helpful because I don't do well with the way it tastes 2 hours later when I burp.
Yeah, I've heard of fish burps after.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, so if you have more questions about fats or want a little more information, I will happily share everything else I can find with you. We're going to puree this soup. We're going to puree we're going to make avocado chocolate pudding. Avocado, also a good source of omega-3s. Of course, some of my textbooks didn't have that in there, so I was using my textbooks to write my notes to make sure I got everything. So we're going to do cocoa powder.
1 avocado.
Yep.
Cocoa powder.
Honey.
This is 3 tablespoons of honey.
Thank you to your bees who produced this for us.
They did.
I'm forever grateful. I took a spoonful of it earlier. Oh my goodness, it made me very happy.
It does make you do a happy dance.
Yeah.
I know.
And then we're gonna add some vanilla, and if we need a little more liquid, we're gonna add some chocolate sauce. All right, so I think the recipe said like a teaspoon and a half. I'm just gonna.
Tablespoon and a half?
Tablespoon and a half? I have a vanilla problem.
That's okay. We have plenty, so we're good.
I started making my own. This might take a couple of times. That avocado was hard. Oh, let's add, do you have any almond milk or soy milk or?
Yes.
Let's add some of that too. Yeah.
I have oat milk or I have some more.
Either one is good. You can add the milk of your choice. So, I feel like we should go with coconut because we're sort of on a coconut kick here.
Since, we're talking about the goodness of
fats.
Good fats.
Yes. So I didn't talk about medium chain triglycerides because there are none that are really found in our plant food. They're more of a supplement and they're more man-made, but they're really easy to digest. So sometimes they recommend them for people that have fat digestion issues. I don't think it's stuck. Ooh, It's gonna make me do the happy dance. So this recipe is high in good fat. It's got the turmeric in it, which is anti-inflammatory. It's got all our anti-inflammatory veggies.
So what is the high in good fat that's in it?
The coconut.
Coconut milk.
Coconut milk. And then we added, did you do olive oil or canola oil? Both those are good.
What about the tofu?
The tofu doesn't have a ton of fat in it, actually. So I was looking at the label. There is a little bit, but it's soy's an okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go.
So
this is gonna take a while.
So we did this. We should say that we did this same one or something similar a couple weekends ago. But we had a super soft, like almost over soft.
Yeah.
Avocado.
So the one we did a couple weekends ago, we used a chocolate protein drink.
That's right.
And we added a little bit of chocolate sauce too. And the cocoa powder I have is like dark cocoa powder, so this is like black, which is kind of exciting. And on a cold winter day like today, we've had freezing rain for most of the day today. This soup is super hearty and it's gonna warm you from the inside. And this dessert is also gonna be highly satisfying and really, really good for you as well. Yeah.
There it goes.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right.
How are we going to puree? Do you want to stick blend it?
I'm thinking I'm just going to take the stick blender and throw it in there. So I put the carrots in the stick blender attachment that has the food processor on it.
Yeah.
To blend those. Super, super helpful. All right. Oh, shoot. My thing wasn't on there. That was odd.
Not for you.
He's like, but you're cooking. No.
Okay.
Sorry about the noise. There's a lot of blending happening. Okay, I'm gonna let this. This is very thick also because of the potatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. Whipped cream too? Oh my goodness.
Well, like good fats, right?
Yeah,
It's real cream.
that's good.
Good fats.
I like real. I also have a theory that I should add here. That
Dessert first.
Oh, absolutely dessert first. It's like you know me. So I have this theory that anytime you remove something from the whole food, so let's take an egg for example. It's got the egg white and it's got the egg yolk. So for all those people that are egg white eaters, if you remove the yolk where the fat is, your body is going to want to replace that someplace else. So I have a theory, I can't prove this, but your body starts craving other foods to replace that fat, which can potentially be not great options. So this is the other reason I tell people to eat the whole thing, because then you don't give your body the opportunity to steal. Pretty good?
Yes.
Yes. Oh gosh, I took too big of a...
No. Your mouth is much bigger than that. It was fine.
I can eat a lot of food, it's true.
So I think if we had had a softer avocado, it would have been a little bit smoother, but it's still pretty smooth. But if you need super smooth, get a really ripe avocado.
And if your avocado has a couple of brown spots on it, don't worry about that. It's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, it's still good. Ours last weekend it was
a good one. Yeah, it was super soft. I thought this one was going to be soft enough, and it's not. But it still tastes good. Oh yeah, I like.
Okay.
I like dessert first.
You want to give me some bowls?
We want that's not very big. Do we want to put them in the pretty flower looking bowls? Right.
Oh wow.
It's super thick. All right. So Shannon says, odd grinding noise of your stick blender. Yeah. So I didn't get the attachments correctly together when I first started it, and then I popped it into place. So yes, that totally makes sense. I don't usually have that problem, but I wasn't paying attention when I did it, so I apologize. Give it some time to cool down, because that's not good for the gear either. All right, so we're gonna try our soup. It smells.
It's very good.
It's very good. I was going to say it needs some salt, but it doesn't.
Well, you know what? I think it did lose some flavor by blending. I think those potatoes, once we blended really sucked it all up.
Potatoes do that.
So,
but the potatoes give it a really nice creaminess also.
It's very, very hearty.
It's hot. So it's very thick. So this is definitely a pureed.
Yep. And it's smooth. It's very smooth. Even with just a stick blender. Everything that...
If you put it in your blender at home, you just want to make sure that the lid is not on all the way, or if you have a little piece that comes off on the top, that you open that up so that when you blend it, it doesn't explode, because anytime that you get hot moving that quickly, it builds pressure and it can explode, and that can cause all kinds of mess and injuries. And we want to avoid injuries. Mess I'm not so worried about, because mess can be cleaned. Injuries a whole lot more problem. So, better?
I put a little bit of salt in it, and yeah, it does.
If you were to eat this cold also, you would need to salt it more. So like potato leek soup that's cold, you have to add extra salt so that you can taste enough, because cold sort of dims the flavor, so you need a little bit more salt.
I think the salt is bringing out the curry flavors too, because we lost some of the curry flavor with the blending.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw a pinch on there and see what happens. Well, this is This is one of my favorite flavors. I love curry, and I also love that I'm doing something good for my body, because I know my body appreciates the anti-inflammatory benefits that I'm getting from this. And I'm not going to have to eat as much because it's heartier because of the fat, which is not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions about this, or any questions dysphagia wise, we didn't do a lot of dysphagia today because we wanted to focus on the nutritional aspects of fats and how important fats are to nourish your body, because you will make better progress in your dysphagia therapy if your nutritional status is at a good level.
Yep.
So that is one of the reasons why we're really focusing on how nutrition plays a vital role in your dysphagia recovery.
And we want to know what you want to eat so that we can help you eat it safely.
Yes.
And have it still taste delicious, because I know Shannon, she does a lot of videos on how to normalize this, which is really, really helpful as well. And we are trying to do the same thing.
Right.
So we're in this together.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And I will be back next week talking about hydration. We can talk a little bit about thickened liquids. Stephanie will not be here. She has a prior engagement, but you can still bring your dysphagia related questions, and I will just have to table them and have her answer them when she gets back. So thank you for joining us. We can post this recipe for you. We look forward to seeing you next week, and let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah. Have a great week, everyone.
I'm going to eat my soup.